Enters to Dice League, your program for board games, role-playing games, and everything related to them. Today, we have invited some of you to come and speak about your opinion on different topics. First, some small light questions to know a bit about each person, and then two more interesting topics. But first, we will be back after this short ads.
Datos ilimitados, los tenemos. Llamadas ilimitadas, las tenemos. Series y música ilimitadas, las tenemos. ¿Batería ilimitada? No, pero podemos ofrecerte el nuevo Samsung Galaxy S9 con una autonomía de hasta 20 horas al mejor precio. Pásate a Simplifone. Simple, rápido, ilimitado.
Welcome back. Now we are on our discussion table as we will present each of our guests today. Hello guys, thank you for coming.
Hello.
Hello.
We have Eneko,
Hello.
Endika, Yosu,
Hello.
and Nika. So, please, could you please tell us something about yourself as well as what kind of games you usually play and so?
Yes, I
First with you,
started
Eneko.
playing light board games as I was a child with my family, and I really like those type of games.
All right, thank you. What about you, Endika?
I didn't start when I was a child, but some years ago I started playing board games with some friends when we could play it.
And that's it.
Yes.
All right. So, what about you, Yosu?
I was playing. I started playing board games with my cousins and friends. Started playing Colons of Catan and so these types of games.
All right. And you, Iker?
Well, I've played games ever since I was 15 years old, and I started with board games, more simple, and now what I play on a weekly basis is war games, mostly.
All right. So, our first theme will be about dice and card games. So, we have a small video about it here. Let's see it.
Dice games are games entirely focused on dice rolls. They are usually small little games focusing on rolling them, usually being very random. Card games, on the other hand, tend to be more strategic or about collecting them. Most of them are played entirely by using cards and very few use dice rolls.
So, the very first question is, which one do you prefer and why, of course, and any game that would fall under this genre that you like? Yeah, we will start over here.
Well, I like dice games because are fun to play, are easy to understand, and they are like very random. But I am more like a card game player because I like the combos you can do, the deck building, something I like. Buy this card, don't buy that one. Even the new add-ins, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, they add new kinds of summons or maybe magic. That kind of games, that I prefer those instead of the dice games.
All right, so you're more into like games with a story or something you can create, more than random games.
Yeah, kind of, and the mental battle you can do while playing cards.
Yeah, that's the coolest part. All right, thank you. What about you, Yosu?
My guys, I prefer card games because I'm based in my experience playing, and my experience is so funny playing card games. For example, Munchkin or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh. You can play with one friend or a lot of friends. For example, in case of Munchkin, you have a lot of type of cards to compete with your friends, and in my case I like show this, and more. It's my opinion.
Yeah, all right. That's cool. What about you, Nika? Tell us something.
I don't know which I prefer. I like both, to play both, but I think it's better to play dice games because
I think that card games are more for ability, and it's not lucky like the dice games. and also I think that they are more visual. You can like see what you have. Now you throw a dice and what happens, you have to imagine it.
Yeah. In my case, I have like a personal debate with myself because I agree with you, Andika, about that randomness. Because the thing with, for example, Magic, for me, if you're a new player, you cannot really play as as a full player because you don't really know everything. It's just really difficult to know everything since you start.
But once you get into that zone of playing, once you know all the rules and that, I think that it's more fun to play a game that requires ability more than randomness. Because random is like a good game for example, playing with friends Saturday night, yeah. But the other one, it requires like some thinking, a lot of preparing for the battle, and that's why I like it.
All right. Okay, so thank you very much. We have to move on. And now we will move on to the next question, which is light and heavy games.
Light board games, usually preferred by casual or non-players, are used to pass the time while having a conversation. This category is filled by simple and easy games. Then we have the heavier board games, preferred by most people who enjoy this hobby, with more rules, playtime, miniatures, and a lot of different themes and genres to choose from.
So, which one do you like the most? And if you like it, any game that you like to mention, or tell us a funny story or whatever about it?
Yeah,
Please, Neko.
for me, I like light games because you can play with friends or with family that don't know the rules, but you can explain it easily so they can understand it and play more games than a heavy one, because a heavy one is more large game, you need more time to explain all the rules, and it's harder to know it.
Any other, like...
Well, I have to say, the heavy games that I have tried, they look very complex, but when you start playing it, they are more simple. O sea, if you start playing it, you will see that...
How I should do this? I don't know the rules, so you look it in the book, and after playing some games of the board game, you start knowing the rules, so you don't have to look them up.
Yes, but maybe you don't know like when you have to stop, which are the basic rules. No, so you know that some rules are for that, but you don't know if, and in the next page will be another that will happen in a certain time.
Yeah, that's true. But that's part of the learning process of the game. I played a lot of games that when you start, you're playing it and you think, wow, this is fun, we are playing so good to this game, and when you play that game a month later, you realize you weren't playing good at all, and there were a lot of things you were leaving apart.
My opinion, we have a similar opinion than you, because I think the light board games is funny to play with friends who don't know the rules. But if you start to play with friends to heavy game, the beginning is going to be hard because they don't know the rules. But when you start to comprehend the rules, it's so funny. And I prefer heavy games than light games.
Wow, so we have a lot of different opinions, but I would like to tell you, to ask you a question. What do you think when they make a heavy game into a light game, like a pocket version? For example, when I was 9 years old, my parents gave me a Cluedo pocket version, and it was like, yeah, this is too easy to play. No, it wasn't. So, what do you think about those new versions that are taken out?
It's good to introduce people in heavy games. It's a light version, but if you only played a light version, it will be bored because it's light version have
more reduced content.
Yes.
Yeah. So, any opinion about it?
Well, by the one hand, when you play heavy games, you play it because they are not with complex rules, but yet with a lot of characters or a lot of type of playing. But when you do a simple version of them, you can play it, for example, when you go with your family to, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
when you
to
have
eat,
a
to
dinner
do
or
something.
something.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just
Yes.
have a good time. Yeah.
Yes,
But
it's
some-
like having a book and a film, no?
Yeah.
So the book has more details, more things. The film you can't do it because it's like a simplified.
Yeah.
The book.
Something happened to me about this, and it was that we bought the starter kit for Dungeons and Dragons 5 edition, and we started playing. And after 2 or 3 sessions, we realized that with what we have, we could just go to level 5. If you wanted to go on, you should buy the books. They are very expensive. They are like 4 or 5 books. Yeah. You have the campaign, so it's like a boomer because when you are getting into it, you have to buy some more. So I usually prefer to buy from the starting point of the game. I usually prefer to buy the full version.
All right.
In case of you try to play the full version and see you, is this is the that you thinking, you can give your friends or sell.
Yeah, that's cool too. Wow, so we have a lot of different opinions. That is really cool. Thank you, guys. And well, we will stop here to rest a little bit, all right? And we will go to advertisement now. We will be back with the last 2 points after this small break. See you.
In Anchor, we think that you should stop worrying. To manage that, we have changed everything. Zero taxes, zero interest, and zero privacy violation. For you to be able to keep up with life. So you can start living.
Coge tus muebles viejos y tráelos a Pinturas Iriondo.
I'm only
Convierte lo viejo en nuevo con una buena mano de pintura.
Welcome back to Dice League, and today we're having a discussion between our guests about different themes and genres. So now is the point, all right? Now we will go to war games.
War games are often complex, difficult, and time-consuming, with very expensive but detailed miniatures that fans love to paint. The armies can vary from 2 squads to a full-on army with vehicles and mechs, usually using a point system to balance them out. Games such as Warhammer Infinity are pretty popular, and there are multiple ways to play it.
Okay, so these usually complex games, full of detailed miniatures and rule sets, do you like them or not, and why, of course? And any favorites or game modes that you like? Any stories, whatever? Please tell us.
Of course, definitely Warhammer 40k is one of my main games. It's what I most play, and I think that it's one of a kind of a game because they have like a huge universe. They have like a lot of novels you can read about the lore. Then you have a lot of different rules, a lot of different armies. So I think it's one of a kind of a game because no one has done that work. They started in the 80s. And until now, the game has continued to expand, to evolve. So that's what I like about Warhammer 40k. I know it's kind of hard to get into it, it's expensive, but it's so wide that you can have a lot of different ways of playing it.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, any hobby that you have that you're really into,
expensive,
it's expensive, you know. So, okay, yes.
Well, I have the same opinion than Iker because, for example, in the case of Warhammer, you have comics, books, films, no?
There's an animation film. Yeah.
Yes. for me, it's similar than when you start to learn to reading the books on the Elder Scrolls. You have a lot of information that is not in the game, but expensive.
Yeah, expand.
Expands the universe. Yeah.
Expands the universe, and it's so funny for me. I like this.
Yeah.
For when you are doing a war, for example, Ultramarines versus
Tyranids, for example, the aliens.
and when you start to reading the books, you know what is the reason of the war,
Yeah.
and it's
There, in my group of friends, we play like different kinds of Warhammer. We play the Age of Sigmar, that it's like the medieval one, or the fantasy one, and we play the 40k, that it's like the future one. But then there's a lot of boxed games like Shadowspire, something like lighter. So they have a lot of kinds of play, and into each of those, you can play matched. That is like the competitive way, where all the rules are applied, or everything is very well, you have to know everything very well. And there's the other part that is like the narrative ones. So when I read the novels, that's a lot of information that you are starting to know, that you can use them to prepare narrative games and, for example, recreate the things you read in the novel. For example, Games Workshop, the guys that make Warhammer, they have a Lord of the Rings game that nobody plays as matched play. They only play narrative and they recreate the most important battles from the books or the films.
Wow, that's cool too. What about here, guys? You haven't said anything yet?
I didn't try the war games. I have to try it, but there is some things that I can't play it. For example, like my friend has said, the cost. They are very expensive, and I don't have money to buy a lot of miniatures.
Yeah, it is. The thing of miniatures is really expensive. Not only expensive, but it must take a lot of time. So you have to be really into it. And if you have never played, I can figure out that it's really difficult to get into it, just because you have to spend a lot of time, not only money, but time into getting to the
one
game.
option to this is buy with friends.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, box set. And another part of this is that you have to learn how to paint. And it's kind of difficult. Sometimes there are very small miniatures, they have a lot of detail. But if you enjoy that, that's like another dimension of the hobby that you can be into. Like I paint a lot of miniatures, I play a lot of games, and I read a lot of the lore. And if you can enjoy everything, it's very cool to be into it. And for the thing of the money, we all started buying in Wallapop, looking for the cheapest ones, just for trying and looking if you like it. Yeah.
Thank you, Wallapop, for everything. You're the best. So, Eneko, anything you have to add?
It's a big game, but you end up enjoying it because in 3 hours you can make a lot of decisions that will change the course of the game. So each game is very different. It depends in which army are you playing with, and what miniatures you decided to take into the field. So it changes a lot. So if you like it and you are into it, for example, I spent 4 hours painting a little miniature. The big ones, maybe a month, you know. But if you enjoy it, it's very nice.
Yeah, you have to be like 1 month painting a miniature and then to play 3 hours. It's not worth it. I think.
Yeah, but you play 3 hours, the next day another 3, the next day another
Yeah, and then you have another miniature, so you have to spend another month to make it. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, talking about time, we might run out of time, so we have to move on. Thank you, guys. This is a really interesting discussion, but we have to move on. Okay, so thank you. And now we will go to our main discussion: fudging dice rolls in role-playing board games. Let's see the video.
Tabletop RPG games such as D&D are very fun experiences, and this is because one of the player takes the role of the game master, who is in control of the game, living and creating the adventure for the others to play. Sometimes the GM has to change the number of the roll, also known as fudging dice, to set the party from a full kill or change the difficulty of a skill challenge. Some people don't mind it, while others hate fudging dice.
So, did you guys, did any of you knew about this, about fudging dice?
With two friends, I played a role, a role board game. Board game no, it's similar but in mobile phone. And friend who did the master see that he implanted boss is so hard, and in a lot of moments he changed the result to continue the story because it's so. The boss was so hard, and we can.
Yeah, you couldn't continue.
Couldn't continue.
Yeah. So, do you have any opinion about these games? Would you play it, or would you play them, or whatever?
Yeah, as a dungeon master that I am myself, when we play we play Dungeons and Dragons, I don't like fudging rolls. I'm like a hardcore game, and if your character dies, sorry, you can make another character. You can start playing like an NPC, but I don't like changing the course of the game, because the game it's fun with the arbitrary factor of the dices, and the dices are like God. If the dices said so, you have to die. So
that is so. Yeah.
That's how I play.
So you want to make it legit to the real life?
Yeah, no, not the real life, but that's like the fun of the game. You know, everyone can throw a dice and get a 1. Everyone can get a 20. This time you got a 1, so you died. So that's how it goes.
Yeah. All right. What about here, guys?
In my opinion, it depends more of the moment of the game. If you are starting the game, I think you can do it because if, for example, all of your team is.
I think this is more for extreme cases, in like you throw 2 dice, you have very low numbers, and everyone dies at the start of the game. That would be like a good moment for making a foot roll.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And Echo?
Yeah, I think the same.
The same.
It depends on the time of the game, no? If it's in the beginning, I see it okay to change a little bit because you are now starting, so it doesn't matter. But if it's a decision like for the final boss or something like that, I think that if you don't pass, you shouldn't pass.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It's like you're in your final exam, you won't just let the dice decide. You have studied or you haven't studied.
Yeah,
this is the same. I agree with you guys. So, do we have time to another more question? No, we haven't. All right. So, this is all for today. Thank you guys for coming. It was really, really great to have you here, and we will be back next week with more board games related content. So, see you next game. Goodbye.